my life, it kind of, you know, how we always talk about a purpose. What's your purpose in life? What's your purpose in life? I feel like I had to go through those struggles with my health and coming so close to death to humble me. Because I wasn't humbled. I'll be honest. Like, I wasn't humbled, right? I came, don't get me wrong, my parents were not rich. They are immigrants from Italy. They didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of when they came. They worked extremely hard for everything that I have. But I came from a loving home where I never wanted for anything. I maybe didn't have the Jordache jeans growing up,
Yeah.
but I still had jeans, right? And they were mine. They weren't hand-me-downs. And, you know, they definitely fed me and loved me and so on and so forth. But I would say that, and I can't remember my thought now where I was going with that. What was I talking about?
We're talking about being privileged. Well, you said you weren't privileged growing up,
Right.
but working with a lot of these people and
Yeah. Oh God, I can't remember. That's horrible.
no, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay. So anyway, so I wasn't privileged. I did not come from a privileged background, but it's gone. It's gone.
Well, you're helping other people.
Yeah.
You're helping other people, and that's pretty. You know, just working with other nonprofits. You starting. You know, your purpose in life is what you're talking about.
Oh,
And
my purpose in life. That's right. Yeah. So I was not humble. That's where I was going with this. Right. Sorry. So, you know, I don't come from a privileged background, and because of that, or because I had everything that I needed, I went through life with no problems, with no troubles, and I wasn't humble. I mean, I thought, hey, if I have it, everybody else should. And I think that I was meant to go through the struggles that I went through in life and becoming sick and having that near brush with death so that I could be humbled and realize that not everybody has the same, advantages in life. And you need to pay it forward.
And I think that's why, I said earlier, we only really pay attention to the things that directly affect us.
Mm-hmm.
And until you felt like you needed to give back because whatever you believe in got you through what it got you through, you felt like you needed to pay it forward in return. And then all these things have just opened your eyes to this world that not a lot of people aren't privy to just because they didn't have to go through it. And it's no fault of their own. And they're not terrible people for not knowing. And I feel like a lot of people, especially now with social media, Twitter, all those things, we want to shame everybody for not knowing, for being ignorant or not understanding. And it's not because they don't want to. It's just because they haven't experienced it.
Exactly.
And it's no fault of their own.
Exactly.
What are working with a lot of these youth and seeing in your volunteer work, are there some people reluctant to ask for help? They've been in this line of work, quote unquote work, which is just terrible trauma to do things to get by, that it's almost their normal. And
so the Covenant House has an outreach program where they literally go out to the streets at night, and because they know where these kids gravitate towards, and so they'll go out there and they'll try to talk to them and try to convince them to come to the program. And of course you have kids that they know what they know and they feel secure with what they know. And going to a program, when they think of homeless shelter, and you'll hear this in my documentary, when they heard homeless shelter, they're thinking dirty and old homeless people, and they're going to be in a room full of beds and so on and so forth, right? So this is where their mind goes. But the Covenant House is not like that. It's clean and it's inviting, and they come with open arms. So when the kids finally do make the decision to go there, they're extremely thankful, and you'll hear that in the documentary. They know and they appreciate the fact that if it weren't for the Covenant House, they would either be still in the streets or dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Just having people who are open-minded, especially, and it's crazy because you would think that this is what they want. They want the help.
Yep.
But some people don't know what they want until they see the other side.
Exactly.
And that's...
Exactly. They're scared of it. Scared of the unknown.
What makes your job difficult?
I would say the people who are out there with just a handout, right? So there are people out there who are homeless because they're lazy, because they didn't want to go to work.
I but I don't mean to cut you off, but I always I have these conversations with a lot of my friends, and I think one of them came up about the homeless population, and I just said, if we were to give a house to every single homeless person in America, there would still be homeless people out on the street because
Absolutely.
some of them want to be, they like to be not tied down. But continue.
Yep, you're absolutely right. A lot of them have the chance to go to a shelter, and they choose not to go to a shelter because they feel safer on the streets. They're afraid of losing their things, because when you go into a shelter, somebody could steal your shopping bag or whatever the case may be. So yes, you're absolutely right. So yeah, I would say it's the misconception that everybody out there is just lazy and doesn't want to go to work. And that's not the case at all. A lot of them, unfortunately, are compromised. They're mentally compromised, emotionally compromised, physically compromised. They don't have the ability to work. They truly don't have the mental capacity to work. So this now brings me to another topic of healing and making sure that you prepare yourself in life. So unfortunately, when we go to school, they don't teach us how to care for our health the right way.
Right.
They don't teach us how to prevent illness. Okay. So people don't know how to detox your liver, or that you need to detox your liver. It's crazy. So a very wise man, my holistic practitioner, said to me one time, consider your body like a vehicle. Right? So similar to a vehicle, we start off in optimum health. Unfortunately, over time, we deteriorate, right? So when you think about foods and beverages and medications that you're putting into your body every day, that's like putting cheap gas into your car. When you think about stress, that's your potholes, right? That's the potholes that you drive through every day. When you think about trauma, that's a car accident. Is the car ever the same after going into an accident? No, it's never the same. It's compromised now. So your body is like a vehicle. Well, with a vehicle, though, you get an owner's manual. You learn how to care for that vehicle. You learn that you have to change your oil every so many miles so that, the erosion doesn't happen throughout the engine. You learn that you have to rotate your tires. You learn that you have to do this, that, and the other in order to keep the car running for longer and at optimum ability, right? Well, we don't learn that with our bodies. There's no owner's manual that comes with the body. And similar to vehicles, we have interdependencies. We have a lot of systems within our body that are very interdependent. And if one thing fails, there's going to be another area of your body that now has to compensate for that area. And eventually that's going to fail too. You have to think of your body like a vehicle. And you have to do what's right to prevent illness, to prevent things from failing on you. So one of the biggest things that people can do today is to clean their livers. Livers actually capture all of those toxins and all of those emotions.
It's your oil filter.
Exactly. It's your oil filter, right? So what happens is when it doesn't filter properly, now all those emotions get trapped. So when you think about, right, when you were younger, and you would drink, you would go out partying with your friends. Do you remember the friends with, I love you, man.
Yeah.
I love you. And then you had your other friends who got angry and would start beating things up. And then you had other ones that would just start fighting for no reason, right? All of these things would start happening as they started to get drunk. And the reason being is because these emotions are trapped in their livers. And as they drink, now those emotions are starting to come out the wrong way.
Yeah.
We need to get those emotions out. Now think about that. That's when we were 18, 19, 20, 21, because, we all drank before we were 21. Let's just say like it is. Imagine what happens now when you're 40 and you still haven't cleaned that liver. Now what's happening is depression. Now what's happening is you are completely lethargic. There are so many people out there walking around today that are exhausted, and they think that this is just part of aging. They'll get 8 hours of sleep and they still wake up exhausted, and they can't understand why. And I know this because I went through it. I know exactly how that feels. You have people in life who have aches and pains and can barely stand, can barely sit down. Their joints are killing them. Again, they think this is all part of aging. It's not. Doesn't have to be that way.
It's funny that you say that because I joke around with my dad, and like my knees are killing me, my back hurts. I was in the Marine Corps. A lot of wear and tear on your body.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always joking. He's like, "Oh, you're too young to be feeling that way." And I was like, I always tell him it's the miles on the car, not the,
It's true.
not the year it was made. But on top of that, we are what we eat, and that includes what you intake through media. And like you said, to this day, you especially in the news, especially today,
Mm-hmm.
all you hear is go get the vaccine, go get the vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to hear anybody saying, hey, you need to take your vitamins, you need to go out, and
Mm-hmm.
you need to exercise, you need to lose some weight.
Rebuild your immune
Exactly.
system.
Exactly.
Yep.
No one.
Yep.
No one other than like actual podcasters
Mm-hmm.
are starting to say things like that.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, people who go home, watch the news, and they just see this person was shot today. This person lost their life. This
Mm-hmm.
person was killed. Whatever
Mm-hmm.
terrible news, because that's all that's on the news is terrible, is another reason I was talking to you earlier before we started the podcast, why I started the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of it. It's because all you hear is the terrible things. And then the one good news story is about how, I always use this example about how like a dog jumped in the backyard pool and saved a squirrel from drowning. And it's like, that's not really, I mean, yeah, that's feel good story, but it's not addressing any problems.
Yep.
And that's why I have people like you on who are here to open our eyes, to kind of put it in our face. Hey, there's a huge problem, and these are the people who are solving these problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a huge thing lacking in the media today. But
It really is.
to go back to what you're saying, our car body is you ingest all those terrible feelings and that trauma, and you just feel this woe is life. I'm just going through the motions, and you're lethargic. You have no motivation to go out and get exercise
Mm-hmm.
because you're just stuck in this rut.
You're exhausted.
Yep,
You're exhausted.
all the time.
Yeah. And then that's the other thing, you're not just ingesting food and beverages and medications, you're also ingesting the toxins of the world today, right? I mean, when you think about, you're always hearing how, always feed your body positive, positive, positive. Well, I live in a bubble. I tell my friends all the time, I live in a bubble. I do not watch the news. I do not read the news.
It's probably a lot better for you to do that.
It truly is. My body, I don't want it. I don't want to feed that negative energy into my body. I need just positive energy. I'm at that point in my life now. I used to be friends. I used to have a million friends. I was that party girl. And when I say party girl, I don't mean a big drinker, but I was just always bubbly and talking to everybody and, loving life. And now I have learned that it's better to just have that close knit group of people that feed a positive influence in your life, right? Like no negativity. You can't have that negativity in your life. So yes, I think if I could say one thing to people, if they take one thing away from this podcast is to think about how much health affects the mind, the body, and the soul. And to think about how they first can improve their own health and do preventative measures and to not be closed-minded to holistic approaches because they really truly work. And I am proof in the pudding here. Right? Like not one medication. And I was able to come back, and anybody who knew me when I was dying to today, they can tell you that it is light years difference. And then to please think about how those health issues can affect people that are on the streets. And the next time you see somebody on the streets, think about that and think about what they could have potentially gone through and show them some compassion, whether it be giving them food or giving them just a positive affirmation or $1, whatever it might be, just being compassionate.
A lot of them just want to be treated like a human being.
Exactly.
Because we see them as, we don't see them. We act like we don't see them, but we see them.
So the documentary is called Hidden in Plain Sight.
Yep, and that's what I love about that whole thing. It's like, there's a lot of gems, so go watch the documentary. But to piggyback off of, getting your body right and positivity, what are some of your favorite success stories?
Of getting the body right?
Of your work that you've done.
Greatest success story. So, I am actually still friends with her today. And I when I was in the streets and